Another month has come to an end, so here is my September 2025 reading wrap up. Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing well. Thank you so much for being here. If you don't know me, hi, my name is Charlene and this is my little YouTube channel where I talk mainly about books, but also with a little bit of travel and lifestyle as well. And in today's video, I'm going to be going through my September 2025 reading wrap up with you, which will include books that I've read, book pickups and anything else book related as well. Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing well and that you've had a good week. Thank you so much for being here today. Like I said in my quick little intros there, today is going to be my September 2025 reading wrap up. And just before we get into it, I just want to say from the top, I do apologise for my hair. I'm not entirely sure what's happened today. I look like I've been dragged through a hedge backwards. I tried to do something with it, it failed, it did its own thing, so here we are, we're just going to live with it. Anyway, I hope you're all well and that you've had a great week as well. And actually, I hope that you've all had a great month because today I'm going through my September 2025 reading wrap up with you. So I hope you've all had a great September and that you've had the chance to read lots of great books and that you've had some good book pickups and done other lovely bookish things. But today I'm going to be going through all of those things with you. So let me first start with what books I've read this month. Okay, so starting with the books that I've read this month, and I'm actually really proud of myself because for those of you that don't know, I'm a slow reader, and so usually when I do my reading wrap-ups, I'm only going to talk about a couple of books. But today I've got 4 to talk about. I've read 4 books in September 2025, and while for some people that won't be very impressive at all, and that's what they'll get through in a week, for me as a slow reader, that is very impressive, and I'm very happy with that. So for me, 4 books in a month is great, and I'm very proud of myself. So starting with the first one that I read this month, and that was Death in Her Hands by Ottessa Moshfegh. Moshfegh. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, I do apologise. But this book I was influenced to buy because I saw a video with Jenna Ortega doing a Vogue What's in My Bag. And this was a book that she'd pulled out of her bag. She said that this book had been recommended to her by a friend and that she was in between reading it on her long flights and things like that. So of course I had to pick it up because I love Jenna Ortega and she's a bit of a fellow creepy girl. And so I would really, go off any recommendations that she had. So I went and bought this book and it is a very unusual book. I haven't put up a book review about it yet. And that is because I haven't completely gathered my thoughts about it, and I don't know if I am going to do a book review of it because I think that really everything I have to say about it will be right here. But let me just start with reading you the blurb. While on her daily walk with her dog in the woods near her home, Vesta comes across a chilling handwritten note. Her name was Magda. Nobody will ever know who killed her. It wasn't me. Here is her dead body. Shaky even on her best days, Vesta is also alone and new to the area, having moved here after the death of her husband. Her brooding about the note grows quickly into a full-blown obsession. Who was Magda and how did she meet her fate? So that sounds super interesting from the blurb there, and I was very excited to read it. However, the book just wasn't what I thought it was going to be. The vibe that the blurb gives off there for me is that it's a bit of a murder mystery, a bit of a whodunit. It's, about a woman finding a note in the woods when she's on her own walking her dog, alluding to a murder or somebody being killed, and she has to investigate and find out why, which it started out being, but it just turned into basically you're reading this woman's inner thoughts and inner dialogue, and that's basically most of it because she knows very little about the person that's got killed and she's just kind of making up assumptions and making up stories in her head. We're just basically taken along for the ride, and you don't actually end up finding out really anything too concrete. I'm not going to give much away about the story or what happens, but just a lot of it seemed to take place in Vesta is the main character, in Vesta's mind about the death of Magda, this person that she doesn't know. And some of that was very interesting, but also there were a lot of times where I wanted just something tangible. I wanted something like what is actually happening. I know you've got all of this going on in your head and you're kind of like using this as like an exciting fairy tale, like a break from your life. What's actually going on? Who actually is Magda? And you really find out very little along the story. Since reading it, I've done a little bit of research about the book, and it seems to be very split, people's opinions. There are a lot of people who absolutely love Ottessa's writing and say this is exactly what she wanted it to be. She wanted it to be a kind of joke on the reader and like a, I don't know, like a, you have to make up your conclusions in your own mind, but which is all well and good, but at the same time, like if you're going to write a book about like somebody's murder, then it kind of would be useful to have some kind of answers. I don't know, maybe I'm just not intelligent enough to have really understood or enjoyed this book, and that is quite possible, but for me it just seemed like not much happened. The beginning really hooked me when she finds the note and you find out about her and her life and her dog and living in the woods and all of this. But from then on, not really much happens. And like I said, I just wish that so much time and so much emphasis wasn't taken up by just her inner thoughts and inner dialogue and her kind of spiraling in her own mind. So for me, unfortunately, I know lots of people do love this and do love her writing, but for me, this just wasn't a hit. And it's just, I didn't enjoy it that much. It was one of those books that I read and at the end I started feeling like, oh, I feel a bit weird, like I'm not sure what I've just read, and I just didn't particularly enjoy it that much. That's not to say that other people might not enjoy it, and that's not putting down the book at all. It just wasn't my cup of tea. I did end up scoring it a 2 out of 5 stars, which seems really harsh, but I honestly, it was one of those things where I read and I was like, I don't know what I just read, and it seemed like, even though it's a very short book, it's only like just over 250 pages, even though it's a very short book, it left me feeling like I kind of wasted my time, and I don't feel like that very often, and I kind of was just racing through it at the end just thinking like, oh come on, let's get to the end, what happens? And obviously if you're feeling like that, then you're not enjoying a book, and reading is all very personal. So for me, I just personally didn't enjoy reading this book very much, which is why I settled on a 2 out of 5 stars. But like I said, that's not to say that it's a bad book or that you shouldn't read it. I'm probably just not intelligent enough to kind of get to the bottom of what was actually happening or find out the point of the story, but that's just my own personal opinions. The second book I read this month, and I don't know whether you'd class it as a read or not, because technically I didn't read it. I listened to it entirely on Audible, but that was The Secret History by Donna Tartt. If any of you have watched any of my other videos before, you may know that this is one of my favourite books of all time. And after reading Death in Her Hands, I was just really feeling like I wanted to read something that I knew and something familiar and something that I enjoyed. So I re-downloaded The Secret History on Audible, and I just started listening to it when I was working, or, you know, when I was getting ready in the morning, or just when I was cleaning or whatever, on a dog walk, I would just put it on. And so I got through this pretty quickly because I had it on basically most of the time instead of like a podcast or music or something. I was spent most of my time listening to The Secret History by Donna Tartt. And I won't go over in great detail this book because I've already done a video reviewing it the first time I read it. This was a reread, but if you want to find out what I thought about the book the first time I read it, I will put a link to the video in the description to this video. But I absolutely love this book. This is, I can't decide whether it's number 1 or number 2 favourite book of all time, but I absolutely love this book so much. And like I said, after I just read that last book, I was just really feeling like I just really need to listen to something that I know is good to get me back in a normal head state, which some of you might not understand if you've read this book, because I don't know if it's that much of a normal head state type of thing. But anyway, let me read you the blurb. Under the influence of their charismatic classics professor, a group of clever, eccentric misfits at an elite New England college discover a way of thinking and living that is a world away from the humdrum existence of their contemporaries. But when they go beyond the boundaries of normal morality, their lives are changed profoundly forever. It takes my breath away, it is so accomplished. And that's a quote by Ruth Rendell. Yeah, I absolutely love The Secret History by Donna Tartt. Like I said, it's either number 1 or number 2 of my favourite books of all time. The first time I read it, I rated it a 5 out of 5 stars. But on my reread, I've actually just realised that like there's so many other books that I've read since then that I've rated a 5 out of 5 stars. But this one is one of my absolute favourites of all time. So I ended up rescoring this actually a 6 out of 5 stars. That's how much I love it. So this is one of my 2 books I've ever scored 6 out of 5 stars. So I absolutely love The Secret History. I really love Dark Academia, and this was the first Dark Academia book that I'd ever read. And yeah, like I said, I'm not sure if many people would count this as a book that I've read this month, but I certainly do, because I've listened to the whole thing on Audible all over again, so I thought I'd just include this in this video. The next book that I read this month was a bit of a shocker, actually, and this was that I've been craving something fantasy related for a long time, but I find fantasy a bit of an intimidating genre because there's a lot of different types of books within that world, and I don't know that much about them because I usually read dark academia or horror or thrillers, things like that. So I don't know too much about fantasy, and I find that there's books which are amazing or books which are so overwhelming and so full of detail that I'm like, I don't know what's going on. So I did a bit of research and I went looking into Bookstagram and all of that, and to find out what people are loving at the moment. And it brought me to this book, which absolutely is normally not my type of thing, but this is a romantasy book, and this is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. So when I picked this book up, I have to be honest, I didn't have that many good intentions for the book. I was just like, yeah, this will be all right. This will be an easy, quick read. But I didn't think too much was going to come of it. And I have to say, I enjoyed this a whole lot more than I thought I was going to. I wouldn't class myself as a romantasy reader. I think the only other romantasy book that I've read before this was the first ACOTAR book, which I loved. I really, really enjoyed that. And other than that, I'm not really a romance girly. Like, I've read plenty of other books with romance storylines in, and that's fine. But when you've got a book that's kind of built around a romance, for me, I find that they can be a little bit cheesy and a little bit cringe. So I tend to steer clear of books that are really, really structured around a romance, which is why I've never really read much romantasy. But I kept seeing this coming up over and over and over again. It was so highly spoken about. People were in love with the world, in love with the writing, in love with the characters, and I thought, why not? I'll give it a read. I've read something else completely random this month. I'll give it a go. So I picked this up, and let me just read you the blurb on this. Only the extraordinary belong in the kingdom of Ilya. The elites have possessed powers for decades, gifted to them by the plague, while those born of ordinary are just that, banished from the kingdom of Ilya and shunned from society. No one knows this better than Paid in Grey, an ordinary posing as a sidekick to blend in with the elites. When she unsuspectingly saves one of Ilya's princes, Kai Azza, she's thrown into the Persian trials, a brutal competition showcasing the elite's powers. If the trials and the opponents within them don't kill her, the prince she's fighting feelings for will if he discovers what Paden is, completely ordinary. Okay, so I won't give you a very in-depth review or any detail about this so much because I've already done a review video about it, which again I will link in the description to this video. But I will just say I enjoyed this book so much more than I thought that I would. I kind of thought as soon as I started reading it, oh, here we go, romantasy, this is not going to be my vibe at all. And I was so pleasantly surprised, which tells you that, try different things every now and then because you might just end up enjoying it. So it gave me vibes of Hunger Games mixed with Fourth Wing, mixed with Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. It was like a little bit of those all mixed in together, kind of like ACOTAR as well. So if you like any of those things, I think that you'll enjoy Powerless. The thing that I was concerned about was, like I said, the storyline of the romance. But I actually, yes, I'm not going to lie and say that there weren't cheesy bits or cringy bits, especially in the dialogue, the way they spoke to each other. But I didn't mind because I was so in it for the story. I was in it for the romance. I was in it for the fantasy. I was very invested in the characters, actually a lot more than I thought I would be. And what stood out to me was that there were a few really beautiful lines that, came up in this book, which I just wasn't expecting. The book itself is absolutely beautiful as well, and it's got some lovely little illustrations throughout it. Like at the beginning of each chapter, you can see a map at the beginning there. I always find that if there's a map at the beginning of a book, it's going to be intense. And then at the end of each chapter, there's some little illustrations. So it's very beautifully done. And actually it was a light read, it was an easy read, it was interesting. I really like Hunger Games and I really like the Goblet of Fire and things like that. So for me it was very interesting. I love those kind of survival trials and that fantasy element, things like that. And I really ended up enjoying Powerless so much more than I thought I was going to. And I ended up scoring Powerless a 4 out of 5 stars. And I actually enjoyed reading Powerless so much that I then decided to buy loads of the other books within the series and carry on staying in this world, because that's how much it grabbed my attention. And it also seemed a bit like a breath of fresh air. It was a light, easy read in between quite a lot of other heavier, darker reads. And so I just was in that moment where I just really enjoyed it, and I thought I'm just going to stay here and carry on with it, which leads me to my next book. So my fourth and final book that I've read this month, carrying on from Powerless, was Powerful by Lauren Roberts. So as I understand it, the original Powerless trilogy is that it's a trilogy which goes Powerless, Reckless, and then Fearless. But then there are 2 additional books which have kind of been tucked in there. So Powerful is book 1.5. So you read, if you want to read this, you read this after Powerless. And then the other book that's kind of been tucked in is Fearful, which is book 3.5, which you read at the end after Fearless. So I thought, I'm brand new to this world. I'm enjoying the Powerless world. So why not? If I'm going to read it all, let's just grab the next book. And so I grabbed Powerful by Lauren Roberts. This is very interesting because this is like an offshoot from Powerless. The book that I was just talking about tells the story of 2 main characters, Payden Gray and Kai Azza. And within that story, there are lots of other characters. One of them, oh my gosh, I was just about to give something away. Okay, one of them something happens to, and you don't really find out too much about it because the story is not told from that person's perspective, which is where Powerful fits in, because Powerful is told from this other person's perspective. So let me just quickly read you the blurb. A sizzling, heart-racing new story set in the kingdom of Ilia. Adina and Payden have always been inseparable. Fate brought them together when they were young, but friendship ensured that they would always protect each other and the home they built in the slums of Lut. But now, Payden, an ordinary, has been selected for the purging trials, which means almost certain death. Now alone in Lut, Adina must fend for herself. After attempting to steal, it's a mysterious man from the market who comes to rescue. Mac's shadowy past and secretive power set him apart from the other low-level elites of Lut. And as the pair team up to see their loved ones before the trial, the quest tests their loyalty, their love, and their lies. Okay, so this does tell you it's about a character called Adina. Adina is a character within the Powerless book, but you find out bits and pieces about her. But this is the book Powerless told from Adina's perspective. So it's much shorter because obviously you don't need to be retold everything. And it was only 245 pages. So I got through this pretty quickly. I actually finished this last night. And I'm not going to tell you too much more about it because I am planning to do a review video of this book. But again, I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed being in this world still. I didn't enjoy it as much as Powerless, but I did still really enjoy it. And I'm very excited to move on now to Reckless, which is the next one in the series. So yes, that was my 4th and final book that I've read in September 2025, Powerful by Lauren Roberts. Okay, so those are all of the books that I've read this month. Like I said, 4 for me as a slow reader is really good. So I'm very, very impressed with myself. I feel like from maybe August onwards, I've read so many good books. I've had almost this like renewed sense of love for reading. Obviously, I love reading, hence this channel, and I love books. But you know, sometimes you get in a bit of a reading slump and then you find something that you absolutely love. And then from there, it's all been kind of like I've been enjoying it even more all over again. And I think that's been since I read The Stand by Stephen King. I've just fallen in love with reading all over again. So for me to get through those 4 books as a slow reader, I'm very, very impressed with myself. So now I'm going to take you through the books that I've picked up this month. And there are quite a few of those as well. Technically, I did pick up these 2 books this month, but I have also just spoken about them because I've read them, and that's Powerless and Powerful by Lauren Roberts. So I got straight into them. And of course, the next book that I picked up was Reckless by Lauren Roberts. So this is the next in the series, the second in the trilogy, or the next one in the order that I'm doing it. I'm super excited to read this book. I've been waiting to get around to this, and I'm so glad that I have it. I have also ordered the last one, which is Fearless, but it hasn't arrived yet, but it's on its way to me. So I will need to order one more, and then I'll have all of the books within that series. So this is the next one that I purchased this month, and this is Reckless. Let me read you the blurb. The kingdom of Ilia is in turmoil. Ordinary-born Paden Grey has killed the king and kick-started a resistance throughout the land. Now she's running from the one person she had wanted to run to. Kai Azza is now Ilya's enforcer, loyal to his brother Kit, the new king. He has vowed to find Paden and bring her to justice. Across the deadly scorches and deep into the hostile city of Dor, Kai pursues the one person he wishes he didn't have to. But in a city without elites, the balance between the hunter and the hunted shifts. How far will he go for duty, and what will she do to survive? Oh my gosh. I'm so excited to get into this book because, like I said, I've been really enjoying this Powerless series so far. So to have Reckless to move on to as well is very, very exciting, and this will be my next read. So the next books that I'm going to talk to you about are books that I picked up for my birthday book haul. So I have done a separate video about these already. You may have seen them, but I thought I would just include them in this video anyway because it's a monthly wrap-up. So I'll talk through these very, very quickly. But I bought these 3 books with my birthday money in Waterstones on my birthday. So one of them is Orlanda by Jacqueline Harpman. I love the book I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Harpman, and so when I saw that there was a new book out from Jacqueline Harpman, I had to read it. I had to get it, sorry. And I can't wait to read it, actually. Let me read you the blurb. It sounds super weird, I'm not going to lie. There's a voice in Aline's head, a voice that wants out. Brash, boisterous, sexually adventurous, this voice seems to be the antithesis of Aileen, a prim literature professor for whom each day promises to be as quiet and conventional as the last. That is until, after 35 years of imprisonment, her alter ego breaks free. Taking on a life of his own, Orlanda, Aileen's second self, slips into the taut, rugged body of a young man. As Aileen continues unaware, Orlanda follows, dragging gleeful chaos in his wake, vowing to leave both their existences forever altered. That sounds weird. But I also know that I love Jacqueline Hartman's writing, so I'm very excited to get around to that one. The next one was actually a birthday gift from my husband, and that is The Midnight Feast by Lucy Foley. I love thrillers so much. They're like my bread and butter of what I always go to if I don't know what to read next. So he bought me this one. Let me just read you the blurb. As night falls, it's knives out. In the shadow of an ancient wood, guests gather for the opening weekend of the Manor Hotel, a sumptuous summer feast. But as the candles are lit, tensions spark, old animosities reignite. This isn't a celebration, but a deadly reunion. And time someone got their just desserts. Ooh, sounds creepy. So yes, that was what my husband got me for my birthday, and this one I picked up as well because it's the most stunning book that I've ever seen, and that is Metal Slinger. I don't know if I've already spoken about this one. I think I might have done because I was so impressed with the edges, but I picked it up and I wanted to include it in this video. So this is Metal Slinger by Rachel Schneider, which I bought purely because it looked beautiful and it looked like right within my fantasy cravings at the moment, and it is just the most beautiful thing that I've ever seen, so I wanted this to be on my shelves. So I bought this one, and let me just read you the blurb. One boat, one bed, one jaw-dropping plot twist. And by the way, I've heard that this book has, I don't know what it is, but I've heard this has the plot twist to end all plot twists, so I'm very excited. Even though she's not one of them, Bryn has spent her life among the Alaha, a community exiled to live at sea, training to be a guard, and waiting for the chance to attend the annual market hosted by the Kenta, the very same people who exiled her adopted community. Going to the market is a rite of passage eagerly anticipated by all young guards, but Bryn does not anticipate breaking a century-long peace treaty while there, or for an intense encounter with an enemy soldier to threaten the fragile peace between their people and everything Bryn once believed to be true. Soon, Bryn's loyalty to the Alaha is tested when an unexpected visitor tracks her down, none other than said enemy soldier, sworn under oath to awaken Bryn to her true identity. Sent to sea and feeling more alone than ever, there is a world of denied magic unveiled. With rumours of a growing rebellion, Bryn's future has never looked so unsure. She was once certain of her fate and where she belonged, but the dark, knowing eyes of this stranger have her questioning everything, including her heart. Like I said, I've heard so much about the plot twist in this book. I don't know anything about what it is, but I've heard that it is the biggest plot twist ever. So I'm very excited to read this book, not to mention how beautiful it is. And the last book that I've picked up was actually gifted to me by my good friend Beth, and that is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. Again, I've seen everybody on Bookstagram reading this book. I think it's having a real moment, so I'm very excited to get round to this. And she very kindly gave it to me because she'd already read it. So thank you very much, Beth. And let me just read you the blurb here. This is a story about hunger. 1532, Santo Domingo de la Calzada. That probably wasn't right. A young girl grows up wild and wily, her beauty only outmatched by her dreams of escape. But Maria knows she can only ever be a prize or a pawn in the games played by men. When an alluring stranger offers an alternative path, Maria makes a desperate choice. She vows to have no regrets. This is a story about love. 1827 London. A young woman lives an idyllic but cloistered life on her family's estate until a moment of forbidden intimacy sees her shipped off to London. Charlotte's tender heart and seemingly impossible wishes are swept away by an invitation from a beautiful widow, but the price of freedom is higher than she could have ever imagined. This is a story about rage. 2019 Boston. College was supposed to be her chance to be someone new. That's why Alice moved halfway across the world, leaving her old life behind. But after an out-of-character one-night stand leaves her questioning her past, her present and her future, Alice throws herself into the hunt for answers and revenge. This is a story about life, how it ends and how it starts again. Wow, that sounds really, really interesting. And like I said, I've been seeing this really doing the rounds on Bookstagram, BookTok, BookTube, all the book places. People are absolutely loving this book. So thank you so much, Beth. I can't wait to get around to reading this one. So those are all the books that I've read and picked up this month. Like I said, September has been a really successful bookish month for me. And I also wanted to just quickly mention, like as a slow reader, because I know that a lot of you have been reaching out to me saying that you're also slow readers. One thing that I talk about quite a lot, but one thing that I'm really finding is helping me loads at the moment is audiobooks. I listen to them on Audible, but listen to them wherever you want to. But I just find that for me, if I sit and read a book, I'll be reading it for a really long time because I take ages to take each word in. I have to really, really concentrate on what I'm reading. If I get to the bottom of a page and I'm like, oh, I don't actually remember what that's just said, I will start it again. Like I take every word in. So for me to have an audiobook and to be able to listen to it at the same time as reading it, it really, really helps because then I can spend more time reading. Like I can listen to an audiobook when I'm taking my dog for a walk, or I can listen to it on my way to work or whatever. It just means that I've got a lot more time to invest into a book, and for me that's been really, really helpful. So I just wanted to mention that as well. If you have read any of the books that I've mentioned in today's video, please let me know what you thought. I would be so happy for any book recommendations that you have for me as well. I would love it if you let me know if there's anything that I should read. Thank you so much for watching this video. I also want to say I've set up a new Bookstagram page. I have my own personal Instagram page, but I thought that I'd set up a new one for this channel, so I've done that. So it's called Charlene's Cozy Corner, which I'll link in the description. Please go give me a follow and we'll have a little chat over there. I've got some really, really exciting videos coming out, so if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I'd highly recommend that you do. If you like books, travel and lifestyle, I'm so excited for things that are to come, so yes, please give me a follow. I'd love you forever if you'd like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I just want to say thank you so much for watching any of my videos and listening to me rambling on about reading. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Thank you, bye!